Okie dokie, guys. This question. Find algebraically the points of intersection of the line 4x minus y plus 3 is equal to 0, and the hyperbola xy is equal to 1. Okay. You can see that the first equation, it is in general form, and the second equation can be rewritten. So I'm just going to write xy equals 1. I'm just going to make y the subject, because that usually makes things a bit easier to see. I'm going to call that equation number 1. Alright, now, because I've made y the subject, it becomes a lot easier to substitute. So if I was to write down 4x minus y plus 3 equals 0 and call it equation number 2, what I would do is I would sub equation number 1 into equation number 2. So, in place of y, I'm going to be able to write 1 over x. And something a bit funny happens when we do this. So I have 4x minus 1 over x plus 3 equals 0. Alrighty. So, typically what we need to do is solve this equation and find when x, or find the value for x that makes this equation true. For the purpose of this problem, I can multiply both left-hand side and right-hand side by x. So that gives me an equation that looks a bit like this. 4x squared minus an x times 1 over x is 1 plus 3x is equal to 0. And if I rearrange that, I have 4x squared, no, that should be 3x, plus 3x minus 1 equals 0. The next part, yes, is going back to what we have done in previous topics. It's factorising. So if I go 4 times 1, or 4 times minus 1, that gives me negative 4. I'm going to break down the 3x here, or separate the 3x there, into a number that multiplies, what two numbers multiply to give me negative 4 that have a difference of 3? The answer is 4 and 1. 4 times 1 is 4. One of these has to be negative, and the one, because this 3x is bigger, it's going to be the 1, so it's negative 4, negative 1 there. So I'm going to rewrite this equation, 4x squared plus, and the 3x becomes positive 4x minus x, or minus 1x, minus 1, and that's equal to 0. I do that special type of factorisation, which the name of which I've forgotten at the moment. The first two terms are going to be factorised separately to the second two terms. So I have there 4x outside of x plus 1 minus, and I can put a negative out the front of all of this, and so x plus 1 equals 0. I wind up with two products here. In the first bracket, I'm going to get the coefficient there and the coefficient here. That's my two terms. So I have 4x minus 1 bracket x plus 1 equals 0. So we can see now all that factorisation work that you've been doing in the past is finally bringing some fruit. We have the values for x. We can see here, because 4x minus 1, it's going to be, if I divide both sides of this by 4, it's x minus a quarter. So x can be positive a quarter, or in the case here, it could be negative 1. Now I need to make sure that these points work by finding the values of y. So the points are going to be 1 quarter, and if I substitute this point back into this equation, 1 divided by a quarter is 4. and the other point of intersection will be -1, and if I substitute it once again into this equation, -1, or 1 divided by -1 is -1, and there are 2 points. Now bear with me guys, we've gone pretty far, there's just one more thing that we need to think about. This point and this point should substitute into this equation and that equation. Now, as far as we are concerned, we've done this equation. That's how we actually got the points, or the values for y. What I would like you guys to do is to get into the habit of checking your answer. And the way that we would check our answer is by substituting the values that we got here into the second equation, because it needs to satisfy both equations. Okay, so let's just think of it. I'll just do this pretty quickly. You would do this with a calculator, and you wouldn't need to write anything down. So 1/4 times 4, that's about 1. And -4 there, so that becomes 1 minus 4. 1 minus 4, that's -3, right? -3 plus 3 gives you 0. Bingo. Okay, so for this one, that's a tick. Alright, let's just check the other point. So we have -1, -1. So let's substitute the points in again. 4 times -1, that's -4. And then -1. So that's -4 plus 1. So that makes it -4 plus 1. That's -3 plus 3 gives you 0. And once again, we can put a tick here, and they both satisfy each equation, which means they are both points of intersection. Done.